They often say that the first night together is remembered forever, not because of what happens, but because of what is felt. And for Ayan and Sarah, that night was not filled with excitement or celebration, but with quiet emotions, unspoken fears, and a deep sense of responsibility that settled gently between them like a promise they both hoped to keep. Their marriage had not been born from fairy tales or dramatic confessions of love, but from patience, understanding, and the silent prayers of two families who believed that respect and commitment could grow into something beautiful with time. Ayan sat on the edge of the bed, his hands folded, listening to the slow rhythm of his own breathing while the soft ticking of the clock filled the room. Sarah stood near the window, looking out at the sleeping city, her reflection faint in the glass, her thoughts louder than the night itself. They were strangers bound by vows, carrying their own histories, their own disappointments, and their own hopes for a future neither fully understood yet. That first night was not about closeness, but about courage, the courage to trust someone new with the most fragile parts of the heart. Ayan broke the silence first, his voice calm but careful, telling her that she did not need to be afraid, that they had all the time in the world, and that respect would always come before expectations. His words were simple, but they carried a weight that eased something heavy inside Sarah's chest. She turned toward him, meeting his eyes, and for the first time since the wedding, she felt seen not as a responsibility, but as a person. She thanked him quietly, her voice trembling, and in that moment, an invisible bridge formed between them. They spoke for hours that night, not about dreams of romance, but about real life, about Ayan's struggle to support his parents after losing his job once, and about Sarah's fear of marriage after watching her own mother suffer in silence for years. Each sentence they shared was like placing a brick in the foundation of something strong, something honest. They learned that love does not always begin with attraction, but sometimes with empathy, with the ability to listen without judging. As the night grew deeper, the city lights dimmed and their conversation slowed, but neither wanted to sleep just yet. Sarah admitted that she had always believed marriage meant losing herself, that she would have to shrink her dreams to fit someone else's world. Ayan listened carefully and told her that he believed marriage should make two people stronger, not smaller, and that if she ever felt unheard, it would be his failure, not her weakness. Those words stayed with her, warming her heart long after the night had passed. Days turned into weeks, and that first night quietly shaped everything that followed. They learned each other's habits, the way Ayan needed silence in the morning, and the way Sarah smiled when she was nervous. Life was not easy for them. Financial struggles tested their patience, misunderstandings led to cold silences, and exhaustion sometimes made kindness difficult. But whenever things felt heavy, Sarah would remember that first night, the calm in Ayan's voice, and she would choose patience over anger. Ayan, too, carried that memory with him. Whenever he felt overwhelmed by responsibility, he remembered how vulnerable Sarah had been, standing by the window, unsure of what the future held. It reminded him that strength did not mean control, but consistency, showing up every day with honesty even when love felt quiet. He learned that being a husband was not about grand gestures, but about small acts of care that slowly built trust. Years passed, and life tested them in ways they never expected. When Ayan lost his father, grief filled their home like a thick fog, and for the first time, he felt completely lost. Sarah stood by him, holding his hand through sleepless nights, reminding him to eat, to rest, to breathe. She did not have the right words, but she had presence, and that was enough. In his weakest moments, Ayan realized that love had found them quietly, without noise or drama, and it was stronger than he ever imagined. Sarah faced her own battles as well, struggling with self-doubt and the pressure of expectations placed on her as a wife and daughter-in-law. There were days she felt invisible, days she questioned whether she was doing enough. Ayan noticed the sadness in her eyes before she ever spoke of it, and one evening, he reminded her of the woman she was, the strength she carried, and the dreams she still deserved to follow. He told her that marriage did not mean the end of her identity, but the beginning of shared support. Their love was not perfect, but it was real. They argued, they disagreed, and sometimes they hurt each other with careless words, but they always returned to respect. They learned to apologize, to forgive, and to grow. Every challenge became a lesson, every hardship a chance to understand each other more deeply. And through it all, that first night remained a quiet symbol of what they had chosen: patience over fear, understanding over assumption. One evening, many years later, as they sat together watching the sunset from the same window where Sarah once stood alone, she smiled and asked Ayan if he remembered their first night together. He laughed softly and said he remembered everything, not because it was special in the way people expect, but because it was honest. Sarah nodded, realizing that the love they shared had been built not in moments of excitement, but in moments of vulnerability. That night taught them that true love does not rush. It waits, it listens, and it grows. It showed them that respect is the strongest form of romance, and that patience can turn strangers into partners, and partners into lifelong companions. Their story was not extraordinary, but it was meaningful, a reminder that the deepest connections are formed when two people choose kindness even when it is difficult. As the sky darkened and the city lights came alive once more, Ayan held Sarah's hand, and they sat in comfortable silence, knowing that love was not something they had found in one night, but something they had built together, day by day. And in that quiet understanding, they knew that no matter what challenges awaited them, they would face them side by side, guided by the lesson of their first night together, that love begins not with passion, but with respect, patience, and the courage to care.